On it. Good morning, everyone. Okay. So, I think you are getting everything. No issue in these topics. We just started, okay? But you please revise several times, then only you can get the solution. So, we discussed. Okay. Got it. So, GDP, different forms, domestic income, national income, these all part we covered with you. Okay, fine. GDP deflator, private income, personal income. So, I think you develop these concepts. Now, I'm going to start very basic one because there's some few things we should know before going to the direct economic topics. And these are based on the very basic concepts, but does not mean that we start reading even very in depth these topics. So we are only discussing that part and those topics which we need it, okay, to understand the whole macroeconomic mechanism and as per the requirement of this exam. This class is not for academics, dear. Okay, in academics, then for each and everything you have to go in very in depth, and that is a theoretical perspectives. But here we have to understand for theory, but also we have to modify as per the practical things. Okay, so now I am going to just so aggregate demand concept is clear. Yesterday we have discussed, because expenditure method is also giving you the one concept, that is the aggregate demand. And we have seen that aggregate demand, okay, that is aggregate demand means the total demand or aggregate demand for domestically produced goods and services. Domestically produced goods and services, which includes the demand for domestic goods by domestic economic players, and one part of demand, that is the net exports, X minus M. It is the net demand of goods and services by the rest of the world. And rest of the world is also demanding this goods and services, one part of domestically produced goods and services. Our objective is to get the demand and the production domestically produced goods and services. So it was the reason that we subtracted imports. Whatever goods and services we demanded in India, okay, if some part if demanded the importable goods, so that things we have to subtract, and the moment you are subtracting, then you are getting the aggregate demand, which is the domestically produced goods and services. Clear? Now, so you can say great depressions. Okay, I'm writing this. Let me write first, then I will explain you each and everything. Meanwhile, you write. Here dear, just check this the board. We have written one first, Great Depressions. Here, what is Great Depression? I think you noted, first you note down, so when I will discuss, then you can get it. Please write, all of you. Now, what is Great Depressions? So I mean, just taking the second piece, I will come back again. When in any economy, you take any economy of the world, if aggregate demand in that economy started decreasing, AD stands for aggregate demand for goods and services. If aggregate demand started decreasing, also you are observing that there is a fall in level of output. That day I discussed with you, okay, that's in macroeconomic level, the level of output and level of income both having the same concept. And now from the last class, you can better understand, okay, even you can see the total income or total output from the income method, and also you can see from the expenditure method, and also you can see from the production method. It means you can reach at the same destinations. So just you can say that, okay, the total value of output produced in the country is also the income, represents income generated in that country. These two are same. So Y, capital Y always we represents either output means productions, or income, but it is in national level, overall economy, but aggregate output, okay, overall output, or you can say income. Capital Y we are representing for macroeconomic level. So if in any economy aggregate demand started decreasing, and you are observing that there is a fall in output and also there is a fall in employment, clear? And or you can say increase in unemployment, either you can say fall in employment or you can say increase in unemployment, both are the same concept, same things. So if these things started happening in any country of the world, then simply you can say that economy is in downward trend. Economy is in downward trend. When economy is going towards downward trend, fine. Now, if the same trend is continued for two successive quarters, one quarter means 3 months, and next quarter means again 3 months, means 6 months. Either you can say successive one, means not a single month is going to increase, clear? Continuously 6 months or 2 quarters, if this trend is continued in any economy, so the day it's completing the 2 quarters means 6 months, from that day technically you can say there is a recession. You can say there is a recession, clear? So again I am saying, when in any economy there is a fall in aggregate demand and also there is a fall in output, there is a fall in employment, you can say economy is going to downward trend, fine. If you can observe in the economy this trend continued for next 2 quarters or next 6 months continuously, successive 2 quarters, then only you can term technically it's a recession. Sometimes you heard it, this country is going to enter to recession on this date. No one can predict when a country is going to in recession, but you are able to say this statement. Why? Because the day it's started the downward trend, and that particular day is going to complete the 6 months or 2 successive quarters. So once it's completed, then only technically you can say it's a recession. That is one of the reason why you are saying this economy is going to recession in this particular date, due to the 2 successive quarters concept. And worst part of recession is known as depressions, where maybe your very huge fall in aggregate demand, huge fall in output, huge increase in unemployment, okay, then you can say there is a depression. So depression, economic depression I am talking about, not the individual, okay. So economic depression means it is the worst part of recessions, okay. If you compare these things, the worst part of recessions. So these depressions is happened in the world and it started in 1929. Started in 1929. We termed is the Great Depression. Like 2008, it was a recessions only. So that recession is known as the Great Recessions. Why great? Their word they are using it because it's very long period of time it's continued. Okay, so it started in 1929 and it's continued the whole 30s. Whole 30s, it was the impact of depression. It was observed. Impact of depression in the worldwide. It was there. So whole 30s was, faced the impact of depressions. So that's written as 1930s. So why Great Depressions is important for subject or like a subject in economics? Basically, we discuss this type of, it's economic phenomena. So we are discussing in economics, but it's very important for economics because it changed the basic principle of economics. Yeah, change the basic principle. Basically, any economy of the world, they follow, okay, they follow a certain rules, certain principles, and on the basis of principles, they are deciding the level of output, okay, investment, other things they are deciding. Clear? So till your Great Depression, classical theory was working. It means the most of the country in the world, they were deciding their productions on the basis of classical theory. Okay, let me complete first, then you can ask these two part. So initially that's when you take from the Adam Smith, all the classical economists you take. So their perceptions was that classical theory and then theory they followed basically, and the most of the country following that. So classical theory, if you see, then classical theory is based on one theory which is known as Say's law of market, which is known as Say's law of market. And this law is given by the economist and his name is J.B. Say. Say is the title one, J.B. Say. So J.B. Say given this theory, and this theory is known as Say's law of market, because generally if you are giving your theory, then your name will be there. So Say is the name of economist, title of the economist. So on his name it's written as, is known as Say's law of market. Fine. So what the Say's law of market says that? So Say's law of market says that supply creates its own demand. What is saying that? Supply creates its own demand. That the basically Say's law says that supply creates its own demand. It means what is trying to say, or what is the meaning of this theory is that any economy you take, that economy should use all resources optimally. Like I have written here, use all resources including labor. To use all resources including labor, and after use of all resources, you produce the output. You produce output. Clear? And after production of output, you supply in the market. You supply in the market. So as per Say's law, the how much you are supplying in the market. Since AS I have written, AS stand for aggregate supply, because we are talking about the overall economy. So here supply means supply of all goods and services. AD means demand for all goods and services, and Y means the total output produced in the country. So how much you produced, that much you are going to supply, and how much going to supply, the equivalent demand will be created. As per Say's law of market, supply is going to create the demand. Supply is going to create demand. Fine. As per the Say's law. So, when aggregate supply is going to create the same amount of aggregate demand, then aggregate supply must be equal to aggregate demand. Aggregate supply must be equal to aggregate demand. Find here. So, this basically its theory is there. Aggregate supply is going to be equal to aggregate demand. In economy, if aggregate supply is equal to aggregate demand, it means economy is at equilibrium. Economy is at equilibrium. Whenever you are getting, when you are getting that aggregate supply of goods and services is equal to aggregate demand for goods and services, then you can say ki yes, market or economy is at equilibrium. That simply you can say that. Clear, dear? Clear? This theory worked from the very starting till the Great Depression, before Great Depressions. Clear? You understand first. But in Great Depressions, during Great Depression, this theory basically failed. This theory basically failed. Okay, it's failed. Why? Because that time the whole world observed that there was supply of goods and services in the market, in the economy, but there was lack of demand in the economy. So most of the country faced that there was supply, but there was lack of demand. So suppose supply is there, there is lack of demand. So what will happen next to the economy? So let us consider, you assume yourself, कि suppose you produced 1000 units of goods and services. Say any article, any goods you produce 1000 units. You are able to sell only say 10 units. So 990 units, it's remain with you. So what you are going to do next? So you are going to stop the production, because if you are not able to sell out your produced goods, so why you should produce it? So you should stop the production. The moment you stop the productions, then the laborers what working, simply you can say please leave. I mean unemployment started increasing. So that was the situation during the Great Depressions. Due to the lack of demand, there was lack of demand, and but output, production and supply was there in the economy. Okay, so after that what's happened? The producers started decreasing the output, so it started the decreasing output, and next the unemployment started increasing. Even the country like USA, it was around 33% of unemployment rate. Yeah. So that's happened. The whole world faced these things. But Say's law was saying that supply creates its own demand, but that was not applicable that time. It was not worked that time. That's the reason we are saying that Say's law of market failed during the Great Depressions. Then other economists, the economist whose name is J.M. Keynes, John Maynard Keynes. So Keynes given his own theory, okay, in 1936, they given his own theory. An economist name is J.M. Keynes, John Maynard Keynes. So Keynes theory, the Keynes given his own theory, they are saying that no, economy cannot work on this principle. Cannot work on this principle, and that is the departure of the basic principle of working of the economy. So Keynes is saying that output is demand determined. As per Keynes, output is demand determined. Keynes explained that output is demand determined. It means what? So Keynes is saying that aggregate demand that is going to decide the level of output, just opposite of classical theory. Classical theory was saying that supply is going to create aggregate demand, but Keynes saying no, no, no. Aggregate demand is going to create the aggregate supply. Aggregate demand is going to decide the level of output. At any moment, if aggregate demand is going up, then definitely level of output will go up. Economy will produce more output. And if aggregate demand is started decreasing, then level of production will decrease. Simple in one line. And today, the whole world and all producing units, all economy working on this principle. Take the example today's, most of the industries, what they are doing, first they are trying to know the demand for their product. And after knowing the demand for their product, then they are deciding how much I should produce. So his production basically depending on the aggregate demand which is prevailing in the market, aggregate demand. Take the example of recently the Mahindra strategy that all manufacturers they are doing that, but particularly I have observed, Mahindra announced one of the model. After 1 month they started booking for that car. After booking 1 month, they waited for the booking, then they started delivery of the car. Why they are doing that? So basically they are trying to know, okay, what is the demand of my car? And once they are knowing that, maybe other constraints are there, but one of the factor is this also. And then accordingly they will decide the production level. Clear? Because you understand, if you are produced and you are not able to sell out, then basically you are going to incur loss for that. Okay, so this is there that what the Keynesian theory is saying, ki output is demand determined. Okay, so on the basis of that, it's not worked, failed. Okay, so now compare this, why Say's law of market worked and why today it's not working, and in Great Depression it's not working. The reason is that if you think classical economy, very early one when it started, and the whole country, most of the country in the world, they are following this theory. The reason was that, two reasons. First, take the very early one, then the economy was the barter system. In economy, there was barter system. Barter system. What is barter system? So barter system means the exchange of goods and services. Barter system means there is a exchange of goods and services. It means we are not using money as a means of transactions. So in that system, if you assume the barter system, then this Say's law may work. Because in barter system, suppose I have a limited land area, I produce say rice. So after production of rice, I will keep a part of rice for self consumption, and rest amount I will exchange with other products, the other producer they are producing it, because rice cannot give all satisfactions, and in the sustainability of life I am telling you, or for in the practical life, we need so many things, and all things we can't produce it. So I will produce rice, I will keep a part of that, and the rest amount I will exchange with the other products that suppose you are producing. It's very necessary. Number one. Second is that the moment I produce, immediately I will rush to you, because I am knowing if I am late or delay, then I am not getting the product what you produced. Maybe you exchange with someone else, and you are coming to me because you are knowing if you are not coming to me timely, then you are not going to get it because I can give someone else. So in that things, everyone was using the resources at optimum level and exchanging with the other products, because they want other products also. Okay. So what was happening, the production is there and immediately you are meeting with the demand in the economy. So you are producing, you are meeting with the demand. So it worked well. It's worked for the several, I mean, decades, we can say. But the moment the use of money started happening in the country, in the whole world, more and more money, still if you go to the rural areas, very interior part of the country, then sometimes the peoples are serving to their someone, serving. So in the place of giving money, they are giving rice, wheat, vegetables like this. So still this exchange is going on. Okay, but that was there. So if use of money started more and more, then what will happen? What's happening in the country? The people started converted their product into money form, because money is also the store of value. So they started storing the value of output in terms of money, and they postponed the demand. How? Because when I need, then I will buy it. But earlier in the barter system, immediately you are holding it, because when you want you can use it, but today you can purchase it, because tomorrow if you are going to exchange, maybe possible you can't get it. But a proper market developed, so you started selling in the market and keeping in the money, and you are thinking, when I need this product, then I will go and I will exchange for that. That thinking started, and not you, but in the whole persons, all person in the economy, they started doing the same things. So ultimately it is seen that, okay, the supply is more and there is a lack of demand. There is a possibility this theory may not work. Second reason was because if you think about the earlier, if you take the commodities bundle, then in commodity bundle most of the goods was agricultural goods and allied goods, electronics, manufacturing. It is a very least one. Even you take before economic reforms in India, 1991, if you are just observing in your area, so the whole area 1-2% had car, okay, 6-7%, 10% having bike, okay, that time, and most of the people having the bicycle. But nowadays, almost all the house you can get the bike. So many people are having the car. If you go to the home, anyone, then so many gadget electronics product you can get it. But that was not scenario earlier. It was the more in a basket of goods. If you take any household, so major goods was agriculture and allied products, electronics, the manufacturing was very least. So even in the pandemic, you have seen during this situation, there was demand for agriculture and allied products. And still, if you are producing agriculture output and you are supplying in the market, you are selling in the market, maybe at the low price, but you are able to sell out. Maybe at the low price you are able to sell out. So that is the one other reason. So that's worked. Finally, in the Great Depressions, due to so many reasons that later on I will discuss. Okay, so many reasons. Finally, they had seen that yes, there was supply, but there was lack of demand. Clear? So it's not worked. So James Keynes given his own theory. Okay, this classical theory is also known as supply side economy. It is known as supply side economy. Supply side economy. Why? Because this theory is starting from the supply side. You use all resources, then produce your output, then equivalent demand will be created. But Keynesian theory is starting from the demand side. So it is known as the demand side economy. Demand side economy, because it's starting from the demand side. Clear? As far as employment is concerned, so just think about the theory, what they are saying that use all resources including labor. So when already used all labor and you produce the output, so definitely level of employment will be full employment. Here it will be always full employment. Here I can write. Can I go to the next page, dear? Okay. Just add on. So there will be always full employment. Full employment means any persons who are willing to work, okay, they all are getting job. All persons, you can say, all persons or those persons they are willing to work, they all are got the job. So we can say there is a full employment. That is the because basic concept is started. Use all resources including labor and produce the output. The maximum output what you can produce, okay, that is known as the full employment level of output because you used all the labor. So there is a full employment. So remember, in classical theory there will be full employment. But what is in the Keynesian theory? So Keynesian theory, what we have discussed with you dear, ki aggregate demand is going to decide the output. Clear? Aggregate demand is going to decide the output and level of output is going to decide the employment. That is the things. Level of output is going to decide the employment. Yeah, because how much you are going to produce, how much you are producing, going to produce, that is going to decide what should be the level of employment in the country. If you are producing higher level of output, definitely your level of employment will be higher. If you are producing at low level of output, definitely the requirement of labor will be low and level of employment will be low. So just you can write it, aggregate demand is deciding the level of output and level of output is deciding the employment, and if aggregate demand is started increasing, then output level will go up and employment will go up. Employment is going up. And on the other case, on the other hand, if aggregate demand is going to fall, your level of output will decrease and employment is going to decrease. So what you are getting from this, the Keynes theory, basically employment, here you can just reverse it one thing, employment depending on what? Depending on output, output depending on what? Aggregate demand. So finally aggregate demand deciding the output and output deciding the employment. Clear? Not like this. In classical theory, you are just supply side economy, you are using all the factors including the labor, all resources, producing the output, supplying in the market, equivalent demand you are getting. But that is not here. Here is the demand is going to decide level of output and level of output deciding the employment. So what are the possibility in the Keynesian theory? Let us consider. So classical theory is clear in full employment. Let us consider LD is known as demand for labor. Suppose LD represents demand for labor. LS, you write it is supply of labor. LS is supply of labor. Clear? Demand for labor and supply of labor. These two are there. Since in Keynesian theory you learned it, aggregate demand is going to decide the level of output and output you are going to decide, output is going to decide the level of employment. It means how much demand, how much aggregate demand is there, accordingly you are producing the output and accordingly you are producing the employment. It means demand is so high, to meet that demand the output you are producing, and to produce output how much labor demanding? LD amount you are demanding labor, because aggregate demand is there, output is there, you are producing, so you are demanding LD amount. There is one of the possibility, this LD demand for labor must be equal to labor supply. There is one of the possibility. Suppose aggregate demand so high, you are producing the very high level of output, and to produce that level of output you utilized all your resources, that is including all the labors are employed. Clear? So LD is equal to LS. If it is the condition, then we can say there is a full employment. There is a full employment, means the anyone, I mean those they are willing to work, they are all getting the jobs in this one. Second condition is what? There is a possibility your LD is less than LS, means what is demand for labor? What is demand for labor? It is less than labor supply, less than labor supply. Means labor supply is more than demand. It means all persons, all laborers are not getting job. A part of labor they got the job, but other laborers are not getting jobs. So if this it is the condition, then this condition is known as underemployment. Let me explain you first underemployment. See dear, it's a Keynes who termed is underemployment. Underemployment means it is a condition in the overall country where all the persons are not getting jobs, or few of them, I mean a significant amount of labor they are getting the job, but still some of the laborers they are not getting jobs. So it's termed as the condition, that is the overall country, this condition is underemployment, means we are not reaching the full employment, we are under that, means before full employment condition is there, means underemployment is there. But if you go in the types of unemployment, when you are going, I will discuss you in the unemployment topic, when you are going to discuss about types of unemployment, then underemployment concept is something different. Here as far as Keynes is concerned, it is a condition in the economy where all peoples are not getting job. So they termed it underemployment. Clear? But types of unemployment when you are going to study, and when you are saying the underemployment as a types of underemployment, it means a person is working but they are not working, that job is not suitable as per their qualifications, experience and skill. Suppose a BTech persons, they are working as a clerk, so we can say he or she is underemployed. But that concept is, you can use it in the types of unemployment, but as far as Keynesian when it's come, you can say it's underemployment. The term that is underemployment means the overall all persons are not getting job. Third conditions, you can say when labor demand is going to be labor supply, so it is known as overemployment. Overemployment. It is known as overemployment. When you can term overemployment, just take the example of IIT. You take the IIT Kharagpur, you take the IIM Kolkata. So may be possible in IIT the 40 students are from a particular trade. Campusing happened. So many companies visited the campus and every company demanded say 20-25 students like this. So if you observe, then may be possible that each of the students in a particular trade having around 3 offer letter on an average. So it means total demand is 120 students, but supply is only 40 students, assuming 40 students are there in this particular trade. So 120 is the demand, 40 is the supply, means this situation, this condition is there, labor demand is more than the labor supply. If in the economy you are getting these conditions, if you are getting this condition, then this condition is known as overemployment. Overemployment means demand for labor is more than the supply of labor. Clear dear? So as far as classical theory is concerned, there will be always full employment, but as far as Keynesian is concerned, there will be full employment, maybe full employment, not will, there may be full employment, maybe underemployment, maybe overemployment. So these things you have to understand, and accordingly, because several times they asked in the PT paper, so you have to start your preparations PT plus mains. Okay, both the things you have to take at the same time. The analysis will help you in the mains and this concept will help you in the PT also. Okay, even the analysis they are going to help you, because that without this we can't go ahead. Clear here? So what you are getting, aggregate demand is, so come back. So you have seen the Keynesian, today our economy is working on this principle. the production is depending on aggregate demand. Okay, and aggregate demand decide means output, and output deciding the employment. Clear? So, if you see this analysis, then you can say that for all economic activities, which factor is more important, then your answer will be aggregate demand. So, basically aggregate demand in the economy is going to decide all the economic activities. And last few months, forget about 4 to 5 months, because RBI changed their strategy from expansionary to contractionary, or you can say calibrated tightening. Why? Because inflation is more in the economy, this ever in the upper tolerance level. Okay. But if you go 5 months, 6 months before, then monetary authorities objective, government objective, that is fiscal policy, there was only one objective, to increase aggregate demand. They wanted to increase aggregate demand. Why? Because due to this reason, if you are able to increase aggregate demand, then only you are able to increase the level of production, and then you are able to increase the employment. Clear to all? Fine. So, now you have to understand, and today we are working on this principle. Clear? You noted here everything? What I am discussing, please note it down. Okay. I mean, you write yourself after getting the concept. I will also dictate you, but particular topics. These are the just concept you are getting. So, I think you can get it from this flow chart, and the way we have explained, if you are writing in this way, so you can easily get it. Clear? No. So, till here we are getting only one things, if whole economic activities aggregate demand which matter for us, clear. And aggregate demand in last class we have discussed, or we developed in the class, aggregate demand equal to C plus I plus G plus X minus M, that is the export minus import. We developed this concept in the class, clear. Aggregate demand is equal to C plus I plus G plus X minus M. So, let us discuss one by one this one component. So, first we are discussing the C for consumptions. So, C is consumption. Consumption we are writing C. So, C I am writing as a consumptions, and we are writing as a function. F stands for the function relations, and we are writing Y. Clear? So, C consumption is fine. Y is what? Y is the level of income. As I discussed with you, in the overall economy, income of the economy and output produced in the economy both having the same concept. So, we have written here consumption, which is the function of level of income. Consumption, which is the function of level of income. Fine. Just you write few lines. Please write, all of you. Right. Consumption is a function of level of income. Consumption is a function of level of income. Fine. Or you can just write same things, you can write in another language. Consumption depends on level of income. You can also write consumption depends on level of income. Clear? Consumption depends on level of income. Fine. Right? If level of income increases, then consumption will go up, and it is a macroeconomic, the overall consumption we are considering, the level of consumption will go up, okay, full stop. On the other hand, if level of income decreases, on the other hand, if level of income decreases, then level of consumption will also decrease. Then level of consumption will also decrease. Full stop. If you want to write in one word, you can also write ki consumption and income, these two are directly related or positively related. Means if one variable is going upward, other is also going the upward. Clear? And the what you have written, same things you write in this way. If suppose C increases, you can say if Y increases, then consumption will go up. If Y decreases, then consumption will decrease. That you can write. If Y increases, then consumption will go up. If Y decreases, consumption will decrease. Clear? See, it is the first step, because most of the, several times, even your PSC exams or UPSC exams, what they are doing, you know, they are writing these things, consumption depending on what factors. They can write you income, rate of interest, and other factors they can write it. So that time you can choose it. Yes, consumption is depending on income only. No, depending on other things, I am not going, just I discussed with you, we are only taking as just a GS purpose. So we are assuming we are taking the consumption as function of income. But if you go one step more behind it, so basically consumption is depending on disposable income. This is fine, you can say that. But if you want to refine it more, then you can write in this way also. Consumption basically it is a function of or depending on YD. YD is known as disposable income, and disposable income already I defined with you in percent disposable income. Here you can also write disposable income means income left after the payment of taxes. Which taxes? Direct taxes, remember. Disposable income means income left after the payment of taxes. Which taxes? It is the direct taxes. Clear? So you can write it, no issue. You can write YD equal to, say Y is the income, YD we are representing a word like the disposable income. Y minus T. So Y is your income and T is your tax. So if you subtract the tax amount, you are getting the disposable income. You are getting the disposable income. So you can also write consumption is the function of Y minus T. You can write like this. Clear? So if you are getting this disposable income, write this, or you can here also you write which is function of Y minus T. Same thing you can write in this format. Here you can just do another implications. Yeah, if you are writing and taking in this format, both are correct. It is only two way to represent. Generally it is a practical one. Actually consumption is depending on disposable income. Clear? Because anyone suppose earning, they have to pay the tax. I discussed with you, tax is a compulsory legal payment. So your consumption decision is basically on the disposable income after the payment of direct taxes. So if you write in that form, then you can see that any moment or any year or fiscal year, if government is going to increase taxes, direct taxes, suppose income tax they have increased, so your disposable income is going to fall, because a higher amount if you are paying as a taxes, then low amount will left as an income. Okay, so definitely it is going to decrease your consumption. So from here you can see that increase in direct taxes by the government is going to decrease the consumption of the households through decrease in real income. Find here, if government going to cut down the taxes, then disposable income is going up, which going to increase your consumptions. So you can also relate from there. So this version is clear, you refine it and you included the disposable income, so you can explain this. Now question is that, yes, how it is going to put you in the questions. If you are knowing all the two way to explain the consumption function, you can easily explain that and you can choose the right answer. Fine dear? So now you are knowing the consumptions. So if you are knowing the consumption, then you should also know the savings. So what is savings? Savings. So just you write only one line. Saving is that part of the income. Saving is that part of the income. Saving is that part of the income which is not consumed. Simple. Saving is that part of the income which is not consumed. Clear? You can write in other words, income left after the consumption. Income left after the consumptions, saving. Again you write S, S stands for savings, you write S. You written that? Income left after the consumption is saving. One more line you write. Savings depends on level of income, depends on level of income, and it is directly related, clear, full stop, right? If level of income increases, then saving will go up, and if level of income, what you have written, if level of income increases, then level of savings will go up, and if level of income decreases, then savings will decrease. If level of income decreases, then savings will decrease. Positive relationship written. You written already? No. Just you write like this, S, which is a function of Y, and what you are saying, if income level in the country is started increasing, it is going to increase your savings in the country. If Y started decreasing, then saving is going to decrease. These two are the positive relationship. Clear? Just give me 1 minute. Meanwhile, you write. Clear to all? So saving is there. Now we are going to for next component, that is investment. We should know about the investment. But before going to investments, we need some informations, and that's where I'm going to add you, that is the types of interest rate. Then investment I will discuss, types of interest rates. So one, you are saying policy rate, or you can just say that policy rate of interest. Second one, you can say lending rate, or you can say rate of interest. I'm not writing this. Lending rate, or you can say market rate of interest, or you can say market rate of interest. Market rate, yeah. And third one is known as deposit rate, or you can say savings rate. Yeah, dear. So if you take this, then I think you write it. I think maybe you are not able to see this. So if you read newspaper or any article or any book, so what you are getting, the whole rate of interest, what are the rate of interest that's prevailing in the country or we are using in the economy. So whole rate of interest you can divide or you can classify it in three groups. Okay, in three groups. Just so basically all rate of interest you can classify it in three major groups, or you can divide in three major. One is known as policy rate, or you can say policy rate of interest. Second one you can say lending rate, or you can say market rate of interest. Third one is known as deposit rate, or you known as the savings rate. Clear? Deposit rate or savings rate. So these are the three rate of interest. I mean you divided whole the rate of interest in three groups. Now, what do you mean by policy rate of interest? First question is this: what do you mean by policy rate of interest? So, policy rate of interest, it simply means the rate of interest at which transaction is going on between RBI and banks. Simple in one line. We are not directly involved in that. We are not dealing at these policy rates. So, just write one line policy rates, please. Write one line policy rates. Policy rates are rate of interest. Policy rates are rate of interest policy rate or policy rates are rate of interest at which transaction is going on. Going on, why I am saying, because it's a day to day, it's happening. Okay, the transaction is going on. So at which transaction is going on between RBI and banks, between RBI and banks, clear, which like you write, what you written, the policy rates are rate of interest at which transaction is going on between RBI and banks, like right, bank rate, repo rate, repo rate, reverse repo rate, written SDF, standing deposit facility, SDF, and MSF rates, SDF rate, MSF rate. MSF is the marginal standing facility. Okay, since you requested, so I am writing it. You can write bank rate, and I will discuss all rate of interest, everything you will get in the monetary topic, monetary system or monetary policy. Here just you know the names. Here these are known as the policy rates, like bank rate, repo rate, you can say reverse repo rate, SDF rates. SDF full form is standing deposit facility rates. SDF means, yeah, facility rate, clear. And other one, MSF means, I am writing here, MSF means marginal standing facility rate. This is there. Check. These are known as the policy rates, dear. Bank rate, repo rate, reverse repo rate, standing deposit facility rate, and marginal standing facility rate. These are known as the policy rates. Why? Because at this rate of interest or this rate of interest, transactions are only done by transaction is going on between the RBI and the banks. We can't deal it. We are not dealing with this. We means as a borrowers, as a customers. Clear to all? So whenever you are getting the policy rate words, you understand yourself here it's the rate of interest, here referred, it is nothing but it's the rate of interest where transaction is going on between the RBI and the banks. Clear to all? Clear to all? Now second one is lending rate or market rate of interest. So what is lending rate and market rate of interest? So here we are dealing directly. So lending rate or market rate of interest means the rate of interest at which we borrow from the banks. Okay, we borrow from the banks or banks are lending to the borrowers. Just write lending rates or market rate of interest. It is the rate of interest at which borrowers borrow money from the banks. Borrowers borrow money from the banks, full stop. In other words, you write one more line. In other words, lending rate oblique market rate of interest, we are talking about that. In other words, it is the rate of interest at which banks lend their money to customers oblique borrowers. It is the rate of interest at which banks lend their money to customers oblique borrowers. Clear to everyone? So whenever you are just thinking about lending rate or market rate of interest, you understand that at this rate of interest we are borrowing from the bank. Loan we are borrowing from the banks. Clear? Now third one is known as deposit rate or savings rate. Deposit rate and savings means you know that we also deposit our money with the banks. we deposit our money with the banks, fine. So, if we depositing our money with the banks are paying interest on our deposited amount. Banks are paying interest on this deposited amount. That rate of interest is known as deposit rate, or it is known as savings rate. It is known as deposit rate, or it is known as savings rate. Just check. So, what you can write? Savings rate or deposit rate? It is the rate of interest. It is the rate of interest. It is the rate of interest paid by banks, paid by banks to their depositors, to their depositors on deposited amount, clear, to their depositors on deposited amounts. How much they deposited, or customers they depositor they deposited on this deposited amount, banks are paying interest. That rate of interest is known as savings rate, or you can say deposit rate. Clear to all? Fine, dear. Now come back. So here you have seen that one part of consumption we have discussed. Now we are going to discuss about investment. See, we have to take both at this time because you can differentiate investment and capital. See, in practical life, hardly we differentiate between capital and investments. Like when we are discussing among friends or in the normal discussion is going on, it depending on our choice or mode, we can say sometimes we are saying investment, sometimes we are saying capital, without thinking, yes, what are these two? Really these two are same, or these two are different concepts? So if you just think about in the real sense, in the economics terms or in the concept wise, these two are different. Clear? What is different? So first you think about capital. Just I am giving you example, you understand that, then I will, then I will dictate you, but one line you write, and what you can write? Capital, you can just write capital is the means of production. Simple in one line, dear. Capital is the means of production. That is a simple language and simple word. Let us consider it is a machines. It is a machine I have. So you are giving input from one side and you are getting output from other side. So this machine is acting as a means to produce output. So machine is capital. Suppose the plant, the building you constructed, you are using this building to produce any goods and services, then it is your capital. Any other equipments, any other things you are using, it is known as a capital. Sometimes you are knowing as the fixed capital. These all are known as the fixed capital. Remember in the I we have written the gross investment. So now we are discussing that as fixed capital. Fixed capital means like the machines, tools, equipments, building, these all are come under the fixed capital. And one word, capital is what? Capital is the means of production. Clear? Now take one example. Suppose on 1st of April, suppose you are the owner of any plant and you visited your plant on 1st April, then you have seen 100 number of machines, it is in your farm. 100 number of machines, it is in your farm. Clear? Now, on 31st March, you visited your plant, that is a 31st March, suppose it's 2022, that is a 2021. So the first day of fiscal year, you visited your plant and you have seen that total machines are 100 is 100, and on the 31st March you have seen the total machine is 150. So when you measure the machine's stock at this point, so 100 is your capital because machine is the means of production. If you measure on 31st March, this 150 is your capital because it's the means of production. So if you measure at a point of time, then how much stock you have, that is capital because you are using it as a means of productions. So capital is a stock concept. What is capital? Capital is the stock concept. Capital is the stock concept because you're measuring at a point of time. So on 1st of April your capital is 100, on 31st March capital is 150. Between these two periods, how much you added? Addition part is what? Plus 50. You added. Just check. On the first day of the fiscal year, you had capital of 100 units, but on the 31st March 2022, your total amount of capital is now 150. So during this fiscal year, you added 50 units of capital. You added 50 units of capital. So how much you added, dear? How much you added? It is known as investment. It is known as investment. Check. It is known as investment. So what is investment? Investment is the process of adding capital in already existing amount of capital. Again I am repeating. Investment is the process of adding capital in already existing capital. Clear? Or in other words, just you write investment. I think capital you written, capital is the means of production and it is a stock concept. It is a stock concept. Now you write investment. Please write. Investment you write. It is increase in capital because capital has increased. It is increase in capital during a given period of time. During a given period of time. That period you can take 1 year. So you understand, investment you are measuring between these two periods. 1st April to 31st March. And during this period, how much change and how much increase, basically how much increase, that you are saying investments. So basically when you measure at during a period of time, so it is known as the flow concept. It is known as the flow concept. So investment is a flow concept because investment you generally measure or we measure, okay, during a given period of time, so it is known as the flow concept. But capital you measure at a point of time, it is known as the stock concept. Clear to all? So just write investment to all. Investment is increase in capital during a given period of time. Fine? Right. Investment is also known as rate of capital formation. Investment is also known as rate of capital formation. Investment is also known as rate of capital formation. Clear? And one word you write, investment is a flow concept. Investment is a flow concept. That is the difference. And this difference we have to know because when you are going to explain this whole economy, because you understand one thing, why government, maybe government of India, maybe government of West Bengal, government of maybe any other states, why they are insisting for more investments, why they are using the term investment. Invest means whatever I have capital, we want to add on. So the moment you are adding it or you are forming new capital, that is known as investment. That is known as investments. So why you want to invest? Because Investment is going to create more capital in the country or in the economy or in the state, which is going to increase the production potentials. Clear? Fine to all? Okay, you have just written this. This type of example when I am just drawing in the board now, you also write it, because when you are going to revise it, it will really help you. Yes, what we have discussed in the class and how you should approach it. Clear? Please write. Clear? No, fine. So investment you can, so investment concept is clear. Now first you write investments. There are two types of investment. Overall economy you can divide. Autonomous investment. Autonomous investment. Second one, it is known as induced investment. Autonomous investment, and second one is known as the induced investment. Clear? So overall investment in the country you can divide between these two, autonomous investment and induced investment. First you write about autonomous investment. Please write. Right here. Clear? Right. Investment that does not depend on, I will extend you this, I will just discuss you why I am telling you rate of interest and this one. Okay, just write investment that does not depend on rate of interest, comma, level of income, etc., etc. Then it is known as autonomous investment. Clear? Write it. This type of investment generally done by the government. This type of investment generally done by the government, because government's main objective of investments is welfare maximization and higher economic growth and development. Clear? Full stop. Write it. Government decides this type of investments on the basis of need of the economy, and it is the part of policy decision of the government. Clear here? You have written that? What I am trying to say you, if you take overall economy and just think about the total investment in the country, economy. So who can invest in the country? So the overall economy you can divide in two parts. One, the private investors, and one is the government. Clear? See, government motive is profit, government motive is welfare maximization. At any cost, they want to their economy should grow and develop faster. But the private sector investors or private investor, they are only concerned about the profit where they are investing. They're only concerned about the profit. Clear? So the private investors investment is known as induced investments, because yes, it's depend what the rate of interest is going on, what is the economic condition in the country, whether output is increasing or not, all the matter, because private investors main motive is profit maximizations, and private investors do that or achieving that on the basis of cost and benefit analysis. Cost and benefit analysis. If private investors thinks that or estimated that my cost of investment is more than benefits of the investment, then they never go for that investment. And if benefits is more than the investments, then they will go for the investment. Just think about, dear, just think. If you take any big investors, corporate sector, have you heard it that they open private school in the rural area of the country? See, there may be possible, but very rare one. Someone is doing that. So why someone doing that? Just think about it. Why you have written that autonomous investment, generally it is done by the government. But sometimes private sector is also doing that. You go and just see that Tata, they just really perform better in the so many places, including in the Tata Nagar, you go and then you can see that. Okay, they invested, but their investment is not the profit maximization motive, but the investment for the society. So they're invested, but very rare one. But this type of investment mainly done by the government. Similarly, if you think about the private sector is the only profit maximization. They are opening schools, say private schools they are opening. Where they are opening? In cities. And only in that areas where the level of income is higher. They will get the comfortable number of students. But they are not going to just open the school like in the hilly areas where they can get around 10 to 15 students, maybe 50 students. Okay. And the parents are not able to pay the higher fee. They have to charge the very low fee. In that area, they are not going to open a school. Who is going to open this school? Government is going to open this school. You can see after privatization of health sector, so many private hospitals opened, but where they opened? In cities, where they can get the comfortable number of patients, and they are the paying patients. They have the potential to pay and bear the cost. They are opening it. They are not opening in the rural areas. So you should understand about their motive and the overall development. Clear? So even suppose government needs to invest in either say Arunachal Pradesh, maybe possible they are not getting enough number of students, but they are getting the number of students. They are not getting enough patients, but they are getting the number of patients. They are the public need the health services. Government can open hospitals. Government can open these schools. They are not thinking what is my cost and what is my benefits. They will only thinking, yeah, it's need of the society. We have to go ahead. That's the difference between the autonomous investment and the induced investment. Just write induced investment to all. Right, induced investments. Investment that depends on market rate of interest. Yeah, now you are getting this. Market rate of interest, comma, level of income, etc. 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 Then it is known as induced investment. It is known as induced investments. Fine, right? This type of investment done by the private sector, private investor. This type of investment done by the private investor. This type of investments are done by the different types of investments are done by the private sectors. Okay, on the basis of cost and benefits analysis. Find here, full stop, write it. If cost of investments is more than the benefits of investments, if cost of investment is more than benefits of investments, then private investors will not invest. Then private investors will not invest. Fine, full stop, right. On the other hand, if benefits is more than the cost, if benefits is more than the cost, then private investors will invest. Clear here? Check. This is the two concept is there. Induced, now you are getting the word induced because there is some factor that is basically inducing the investors for investment. They are inducing the investors for investments. And how rate of interest is going to affect? I am going to discuss with you. So these two are clear, induced. But in the practical life, okay, when they asked to differentiate, then only you write and use these terms. But in the day-to-day life, when you can see that the government is asking about, government is giving in the incentives, other subsidy and other things, and they want written that government wants to increase investment. So which investment? It's a refer understood here talking about the induced investment. So normally when you're going to write, you just use the word investments. Other can well understand which investment you're talking about. Because autonomous is the policy decision of the government. So we can't, we are discussing it's not, it's a government policies. But the induced investment depending on so many factors. So we are concerned about the induced investment and we are discussing about the induced investment. So don't write induced investments, but you write investment, it's understood, but where you are getting differentiations, you want to differentiate, then you can use the two different words. Otherwise, just you write investment and anywhere it is written as investment, you understand here you are talking about the induced investment. Clear? Now, you write one thing, investment is a function of I. I am changing here the concept. Here I stands for investment. I stands for investments and small I stands for lending rate. Lending rate, or you can say market rate of interest. Clear? Market rate of interest. See, I here in this I here the analysis, in this analysis we are not considering change in stocks. Okay, we are only considering the fixed capital formations. Fixed capital formation we are considering here fixed capital formations. So what we can write it here, if I started increasing or if I increases, which is the lending rate, then investment in the country will decrease, and if I started decreasing or it decreases, small I, that is a lending rate, then investment is going up. When other things remaining same, other things remaining same. So what's written that investment, you written investment which is a function of rate of interest, that is a which rate of interest, market rate of interest or lending rate of interest, and it is inversely, just you write, you have written this, write first. So concept of investment written, just to write investment depends on market rate of interest, investment depends on market rate of interest, okay, and it is inversely related, clear? Full stop, write one more word. If market rate of interest increases, then investments will decrease, then investment will decrease, full stop. If market rate of interest decreases, if market rate of interest decreases, then investment will go up, then investment will go up, investment will go up, comma, right, when other things remaining same, when other things remaining same means you are only allowing one variable, say market rate of interest. I am coming why the inverse relationship, I will explain you right now. Okay, just give me few minutes, I will explain you. See dear, one thing I will tell you, okay, this is the some constraint in this subject is what, okay, when we are trying to relate between the two variables now, we are assuming other things remaining same. Reason is that if we allow to change all factors at the same time, allow to change all factors at the same time, then it's a very difficult to get one to one relationship between the two variables. It is really very difficult to get one to one relationship between the two variables. So what we are doing that, we are assuming all other factors, we are assuming it's remaining same, only the relationship we are trying to get between the two variables. Similarly, here we are doing that, we are allowed to change market rate of interest and then we can see what is happening to investment when other things we assume is same or constant, you can say same or constant. Now, why this inverse relationship? Let us discuss that. Use all diagrams only for understanding. Once you are getting it, it's fine. My motive is over. Clear? Now you take, first draw it, all of you. See, this photo is for the rational investor. We are assuming this person is the rational investor, right? A small I, already I written that, it's a lending rate or market rate of interest. Clear? Now, you written all of you? Clear? Just think, before going there, think about it. Let us consider you are a bank and I am borrowing from you say 5 lakh rupees for 5 years. Clear? So, what is the meaning of that? The meaning is I borrowed 5 lakh rupees from you, you given me loan, that is you given me money and you allowed me to use this money for next 5 years, because after 5 years I have to give you back, I have to give you back. So, loan means ki for a particular time period for a particular time period, you allowed for a particular time period, you allowed, okay, I mean banks, you are banks, so you allowed that borrowers, you can use my money for next 5 years. But for that purpose, you are charging a price. And that price is what? The interest rate you are imposing on that. The interest rate you are imposing on that. That is the price for that loan. So suppose if I am borrowing from you, you given me permissions, but I am paying you rate of interest to you. And that rate of interest is nothing but it's a price what I am paying for this loan. So can we say the rate of interest is the cost of fund that I am borrowing from you? Can we say the rate of interest that you are charging and the rate of interest that you are charging is known as the market rate of interest? So either you can say market rate of interest or you can say your lending rate of interest. So can we say lending rate of interest or market rate of interest is the cost of fund that I am borrowing from you? Simply cost of fund for the borrowers, because if I am borrowing from you, I have to pay rate of interest to you. A rate of interest is the price and cost of the borrowing from you. Clear to all? Fine. So can we take the lending rate as a parameter to estimate the cost of investments? Again I am repeating. Can we take the lending rate as a parameter for estimating or calculating the cost of investments? We can. Fine. So before investing, definitely I am going to calculate what is cost of my investment, and then we are going to analyze what is the benefits I am going to get it from this project or investments. And just you written that if benefits is more than investments, then we are only going for investments. If cost is more than investments, if benefits is more than investment, benefits is more than the cost of investment, always you write cost of investment, then I will go for that. If cost of investment is more than the benefits, what you are getting from that investments, if cost is more, I will not go for investments. Clear? This is the concept. Now let us consider, you are a rational producer, you are here. Let us consider you have option of 5 projects, different projects, maybe school projects, maybe college projects, maybe any firm you are going to open, maybe your farm you are going to develop, maybe like this. So you have 5 projects, project number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And all 5 projects, you know, each project cost is 1000 crore. Each project cost is 1000 crore. So 1000 for this, 1000 for this, 1000, it is CR, crore, 1000 CR, 1000 CR. And each project cost that you are going to bear is 1000 crores. So 5 projects, each project cost is 1000 crores. Find here, you are here, rational producer. So now you are going to decide which projects is good for me, you are analyzing. The day you are analyzing or discussing, or that day the rate of interest was 10%, I, small I, which is equal to 10%. Clear? So I equal to 10% means this is small I, which is equal to 10%. At this percent you are analyzing. So at this percent you can estimate the cost of investment, because 1000 you are going to invest it, but including interest you can calculate the what is the total cost of investments. So you can analyze the cost and benefits. So at this rate of interest, you have seen that this project, this project, this project, this project, all 4 projects are viable. No, you cancel it this. Sorry, you 5th one you cancel it, cross it. Cross means not viable. So at this 10%, these 4 projects are viable. 4 projects are viable, but 5th one is not viable. Cross it. 5th one is not viable. Clear? Suppose before implementing this, next day RBI increased the repo rate. The moment RBI increased the repo rate, it means the lending rate or market rate of interest, it has increased. Now you are getting this, that we will discuss you in the monetary policy, okay, how repo rate is going to change the lending rate. But you remember at this point, if RBI is going to increase repo rate, lending rate in the market is going to increase, or lending rate or market rate of interest is going to increase. If RBI cut down the repo rate, then lending rate and market rate or market rate of interest is going to decrease. Suppose RBI increase the repo rate, so lending rate will go from 10% to 12%. That is increased part. I2 increased. So at 12% rate of interest, again you have to analyze all 5 projects at 12%. Again you have to analyze all 5 projects. So project 1, 2, 3. Now you have seen only 3 are viable. Means only 3 projects where your benefits is more than the cost. Only 3 projects where your benefits is more than the cost. Clear? 3 projects only. Your benefits is more than the cost. Fourth one and fifth one was already not viable at the 10%, 12% definitely is going to non-viable. But the fourth one also becomes non-viable. Why? Because cost is now higher than the benefits. Cost is higher than the benefits for this. Clear to all? So what you are getting this first, if rate of interest is I, which is equal to 10%, then how much you can invest? Suppose the project which is viable, you are going for investments. So at the 10% you selected 1, 2, 3, 4. Each project is 1000 crores. The 4 means 4000 crores. So at 10% you are going to invest in the country 4000 crore. Clear? When rate of interest increased from I to I2, which is now 12% of rate of interest, 12% rate of interest. So at 12% you can see 1, 2, 3, this only 3 are viable, 2 are not viable. So how much you are going to invest at 12%? You are going to invest only 3000 crore because 2 are not viable. Change different way. Suppose you decided on when I equal to 10%, but RBI cut down the repo rate. If meanwhile RBI cut down the repo rate, then I interest rate declined from 10% to 8%. So when it's declined to 10% to 8%, that is I to I1, because rate of interest declined, cost of investment has declined. So now all 5 projects are feasible for you, means benefits are more than the cost. So when interest rate decline from I to I1, which is your 8%, so 8% total amount of investment is 5000 crore. Okay. We are only allowed the change in these 2, other factors we are not taking, other factors we are assuming it's remaining same. So what the relationship you are getting here? That relationship same we have discussed. Higher the rate of interest, lower the investment amount or lower the investments. Lower the investments, higher the investment, lower the interest rate, higher the investments. Higher the interest rate, lower the investment. It means interest rate, that is a lending rate or market rate of interest, is inversely related to investments. Check all of you. क्वेश्चन नहीं भेज रहा. Clear? Now, so same the relationship, the concept we developed here, same we have written that. You can check it. Same thing we written this. Increase in I, small I, decrease in capital I is investment, small I is the market rate of interest. If your market rate of interest is decreasing, investment will go up when other things remaining same. Clear here? Please you note it down, all of you, and please go through. Clear, dear? Clear to all? You already noted? No. Investment, if you just think, if investment is going up, I means, capital I means investment here. I already informed you several times. Investment increases, then increase in investment is going to increase aggregate demand, and increase in investment is also going to increase production potential. And this concept you have to clear here, because it's a very important from today's government policy, fiscal policy or monetary policy, anywhere, because we are more keen for the investments. So you can link from there to all the part of the economy. So everywhere you are getting this investment, maybe investment in agriculture, industry, your infrastructure. So you have to understand this. If suppose what I am telling you, if there is an increase in investments, so investment is not only going to increase aggregate demand, it is also going to increase the production potentials. I am giving one example, and please try to get it. This statement is correct or not. Fine. Take. Clear. Let us consider you decided ki the fiscal year 21-22, that is a fiscal year which starts from 1st of April 2021 till 31st March 2022. In this 1 year, I am going to invest 10,000 crores. Suppose you are saying that I am going to invest 10,000 crores. But ask yourself, what exactly you mean by investment? What exactly you mean by the investments? So investment, I mean, I'm going to invest. So maybe I can open a new hospital. I can open a new school. I can open a new university. I can open any new firm which can produce goods or services. I can open any farm or any factory. So for production of any goods and services, you can open farm and factory like this. You can open it. Let us consider, I considered here that we are going to open the school. Kahan is that? Why like this? How can I check this? You talk to the coordinators. This way, it's not possible. Huh? No, leave it this. Please inform. Don't send this type of question. Yeah. Proper way, you just send it. Don't worry, dear. There is a problem here. So maybe next day, tomorrow, I will just you send it again. What the question you are asking today? Send it again tomorrow. I will just answer your all the queries. Meanwhile, you just see that. So on the 1st April, you started. Suppose I as an investor, I chosen the I will go for the hospital. I'm going to build up a new hospital. Clear? So the moment you started or decided, I'm going for investing in a hospital sector, a health sector, and for that I wanted or I decided to go for a new hospital. So from first day, I started constructing the hospital building. So when you start constructing the hospital building, means you are going to demand bricks, you are going to demand cement, you are going to demand iron rods, you are going to demand the architect, you're going to demand the plumber, the civil engineers, okay. So these all you are going to demand. This is all you are going to demand here. Clear? So if you just think about once hospital completed, so now you are going to demand your electrical parts, you are going to demand electronics part, you are going to demand the AC, refrigerator, the medical equipments, the medical bed for the patients, OT instruments. So everything you are going to demand related to hospital. So once your hospital completed here, say once hospital is completed on 31st March, on 31st March you completed the hospital. It means in this year, suppose you complete means the whole 10,000 crores, you spend this money, in the economy, whole 10,000 crores. So the moment you spend all 10,000 crores in the economy, means what? The 10,000 worth of goods and services you demanded for construction of this hospital or completion of this hospital. That is the meaning of investment. Because you demanded goods also, you demanded services, or services like the plumber services, labor services, architect services, civil engineer services and other services you demanded. Goods also demanded to construct your buildings, buy all the instruments for the related to the medical facilities. So you demanded goods plus services to complete the hospital, and total amount of goods and services you demanded 10,000 crores. Well, that was the project cost. So when you are saying ki I invested 10,000 crores in the economy in this particular year, it means that much worth of aggregate demand is going to increase in the country. That is the reason I am telling you. Increase in investment is going to increase the aggregate demand in the country. Clear? Clear to all? Now, first part is clear. So how much you are investing, equivalent amount of same amount of goods and services demand is going up. And that is the reason you have written that C AD equal to what? C plus I, plus investment is a plus I. So as I will go up, aggregate demand is going up. Clear to all? Now, once this hospital completed on 31st March, after this day, this hospital is going to give you health services. Health services, dear. They are going to provide you health services. Why? Health services. Why you are saying the potential is increased? Definitely before this hospital, new hospital. There is other hospitals. There are other hospitals. Suppose you have only 2 hospitals before this hospital. One hospital having the potential to serve 10,000 patients. 2 hospitals you have means 20,000 patients you can serve at a time. The moment the third one hospital is added in your economy, it means suppose this hospital having again the serving capacity of 10,000 patients, means now in your economy that you can serve total number of patients 30,000 now. This means to serve 10,000 more patients, that much potential created in the economy. That is the reason we are saying increase in investment is going to increase the production potential in the country, dear. So always remember, investment having dual impact. In the one way, it's increasing aggregate demand. On the other way, it is going to increase the level of, production potential, you can say. And once production potential created, then only you can produce goods and services. If you don't have production potential, how can you produce it? If you're talking about a school, universities, if you complete it, then to provide more facilities, more services in the education field, that potential has increased. If you develop the firm of any factories to produce goods or services, definitely your production potential has increased to produce more goods and services. Farm, so any output related to farm activities just go up. That's on the basis of that we are saying here and this example is very important, please clear this concept. If you are going to invest in any country, investment is going to create aggregate demand and plus is going to create production potential in the economy. And you are knowing that now aggregate demand now it is very important for us, because higher aggregate demand only leads to higher output and higher output leads to employment. So aggregate demand is matter for us. Nowadays what is happening? The most of the country in the world, okay, most of the country in this world, they are facing the low aggregate demand. Okay, and demand is started increasing, but which product? Agriculture allied product, their demand increasing, but what's about other products demand? Keep declining because there is a lack of demand. Okay, that is supply constraint is the one of the issue of agriculture productions. So each and every country is trying to increase aggregate demand so that production will go up, employment will go up. Okay, these are the things. And investment if you are doing, so investment is going to increase aggregate demand, but at the same time we are going to increase our production potential. And if you compare with the China and India, then India, we as a country, because we are facing the supply constraint, we are giving more focus on investment, because we are increasing investment, so it is going to increase aggregate demand plus in production potential in the country. But if you think about Chinese economy, they already invested huge amount, they have the huge potential to produce output. So they are facing the lack of demand. So they are giving more focus on increase in aggregate demand through consumptions, because enough investment is there in the Chinese economy. So they want the product demand should go up, that is they are focusing more on the consumptions, because increase in consumption will going to increase demand and they have already potential to produce, they will produce and meet the demand. Clear dear? So all of you check. And sorry, there was I just got your questions very delayed right now, and I have to leave you because you have to again start the next class. So questions what you asked, okay, you please send me tomorrow, or if it is there then I will give you answer for these questions here tomorrow. Fine. I will repeat you everything and you just ask me tomorrow. This question remain with me. I think now it's a good format. Okay, now it's in good format, so I will give you, because if I start answering it, it's already time is over. Okay dear. So tomorrow I will give you the answer of all the questions. Okay. Just only one line I can tell you, the autonomous investment what you are talking asking, an induced investment. Autonomous, it is the nature of the given, means the government can decide, the government can decide, it's not depending. Now you can see that investment depending on the rate of interest, fine. If it is a changing, the investment can change it. But the government, when government is going to decide, he is not considering the rate of interest, what is going on. Take the example of pandemic. In this whole pandemic, who invested more? Government invested more. Government is not concerned about what is level of income is going on, what is the rate of interest going on. Once they decided, they will go for that. But private sector, they are going to consider all the factors, because their analysis, their investment based on cost and benefits. Clear dear? Okay. Thank you dear. Thank you everyone. Thank you. Have a nice day all.